Hey everybody, Sintax77 back with you, and today we're going to be taking a look at this, the Fenix HL21 LED headlamp. Call it a review, call it an overview, call it whatever you want to. Basically, I'm just going to give you my experience with it based on my usage and expectations of a headlamp, and I'll also run through the features, the bells, the whistles, etc. with you. This will also be sort of a companion video to my recent full-length backpacking video, Solo Hiking the White Mountains, where I did use this and gave it some extensive testing, not exactly planned for some of it, but a decent amount of real-life testing I gave it, and I kind of mentioned in that video that I would be showing you a separate video to really go into depth on my experience with this. A little bit about my background real quick. I primarily am a backpacker and hiker, secondary, do some hunting, so my review is going to reflect mostly a hiker and backpacker perspective. We'll run through everything from weight to lumens to special features, all that fun stuff. So let's get down to it. Down to it. First item of interest, power source. This system is powered by a single AA battery. Pretty convenient. Now they recommend, if you look at the literature that comes with it, nickel metal hydride batteries, the rechargeable type, the most recommended power source that they have. Usable alkalines and non-rechargeable lithiums. They do not, actually they say definitely don't use rechargeable lithium-ion batteries. Okay, all my testing, just to throw it out there in advance, was done with just a regular alkaline battery. I believe it was actually this battery right here was one of the ones used. Just a regular old alkaline battery. Now again, they say that those stats they give are based off of the nickel metal hydride batteries. I will say now though that I got very good results of an alkaline, and my burn times are actually longer than were listed. Now I am used to AAA systems in my previous headlamps, so wasn't quite used to AA, but the nice thing is single AA, less to fumble around with versus a couple AAAs. And weight wise, well, let's see, what's the real difference there? We'll put this on grams to be very nice and specific. Two AAAs weighs 23 grams, all right? Which is what most systems that are AAA run on, two AAAs. 23 grams, and a single AA, 22.35 grams. Very comparable. So to carry a spare AA will weigh almost identical to carrying two spare AAAs. But here's another little thing to note. If you do use the lithium batteries, they actually weigh even less. That's a benefit of the lithiums. 14 grams, 14.45. So you're looking at about 9 grams less if you go with the lithiums. Not too bad. One little thing I will point out real quick since we're on the subject. You see that you simply screw this cap off, and there's where your battery pops in. Very simple. The only thing I will say, and I might not have even thought to mention this if it didn't actually happen to me on my last trip, I actually was switching the batteries out. It was pitch black, 10:45 at night. Finally got to my campsite after a lot of night hiking. I was tired. I was ready to set up camp and go to bed. Take the cap off because I needed to switch batteries at that point. Obviously it's pitch black, and I go to take it out, grab my next battery, and drop the cap on the ground. I was okay because I froze. I grabbed my secondary light and didn't move, just shine my light around, and I found it. Now, I was a little worried that I was going to find it because since I was hammock camping, I wasn't worried about the ground being too nice, and I was on a very uneven, mossy, wet condition kind of area, and I really thought, oh my god, am I going to find this? Wouldn't have been the end of the world because I carry a secondary light source with me, but I didn't really want to lose the cap to this thing and not be able to use it, obviously. So I would say I would really appreciate if there were some sort of connecting piece, little rubber piece or something that just kept this from being able to get lost or dropped in the field. That would be nice. I am used to systems where you pop it open and it's kind of hinged, and so obviously you can't lose that. So maybe, you know, I just have to remind myself to be extra careful when I'm taking this lid off, but that would be a plus for me. if there was some sort of attachment piece there. Just a minor note to throw out there. Let's continue on with the subject of weight. Let's just weigh this guy. 2.13 ounces, and that's with no battery in it, but it does have the strap. Let's throw the battery in. 2.91 ounces. Not bad at all. It's under 3 ounces. And let's just point out that the head strap, for those of you who are that into weight, comprises of 0.6 ounces. So about a half ounce of that is the weight. Obviously, you can easily buckle on whatever strap you want as long as it's a normal kind of width. So if you have something super light and you're really into grams like that, then feel free to put it on something else. But that's what it's at. So by itself with the battery, you're looking at 2.3 ounces. And just to give a baseline comparison, this is just a very generic kind of either Walmart or Home Depot type, probably $10, $12, $15 at the most headlamp. And I can't even use it on that other scale, it overloads it, but you know, that would be 4 ounces loaded with batteries. So way lighter than a cheaper alternative like that, way smaller than your cheapies. Now let's talk real quick about what comes with it. When you buy it, you're going to get a spare gasket in case your other one gets worn out, and you're going to get this little diffuser. Okay, I never used a diffuser before. I almost didn't even bring it on my latest trip, and at the last minute I said, oh yeah, it's got that diffuser thing, and I brought it with me, and I'm really glad I did. I ended up liking that a lot. We'll get to that in a second. Let's talk about lighting modes and operation. To turn it on, very simple. You see that end cap there? We're just going to click it once. Now it is on, and right now it's in the low mode. That's 53 hours of 3 lumen power. If I want to switch modes, very simple once again, that end cap, I'm just going to press it and hold it for about half a second. You see it just jumped up. Now it is in medium, the second mode that it has, and that is, let's see, 47 lumens. It's going to run for 5 hours and 43 minutes, estimate burn time. And if we hold that down another half second, just jumped up again. It's probably looked to you like it didn't change a lot, but that actually just doubled the strength. It's now running at a full 97 lumens with an estimated burn time of 2 hours and 3 minutes, which I actually got more than that out of the regular Alkaline. I'll get into that in a little bit. But back to what I was saying about how that may not have seemed too noticeable, even less so on camera, but even at home, if you're playing with this, you bump it up between medium and high, you might say, what's the difference there? In my experience, really not worth wasting your battery juice on high. Use medium or low. The high, from what I saw in my use on the trail, night hiking, was that it had the same beam pattern, the same width and everything, but it just throws a lot further. You're going to get a lot deeper throw on the high mode, so you'll get more distance out of that extra burn. Okay, and then the special mode is SOS. You're just going to double click, and now it's in SOS mode. I like that. Probably, hopefully never going to use that, but that is a good beacon. Obviously, if you get hurt and you know someone's searching for you, turn this on. It's going to last. I unfortunately don't know the burn time for that, but I imagine this lasts a pretty long time, and somebody will hopefully find you. If you're with a friend and he gets hurt, then you leave him with this so that when you come back with help or whatever the situation is, then you have a beacon to find your friend with and hopefully get him to safety. So SOS mode is definitely a plus, and then to get back out of that, just click and turn it back on. You notice it went right back to the high mode. It has a memory. That's nice. You don't have to constantly turn this on and cycle through modes like a lot of the other lower end headlamps out there. You just set it where you want it by doing that hold down method. So if I want it on low all the time, every time I turn it on, it's on low. If I go to medium, turn it off, come back an hour later, whatever, it goes right back where I want it. So that is very nice to not have to fumble with that. No red light mode. I do prefer a red light mode, so I do consider that a minus when a light doesn't have a red light mode. Even cheaper lights still seem to come with red light modes. Not super cheap like this $10 monster here, but say that $20 entry level light. A lot of them do have red light, so I consider that a bit of a minus. But it does have a 3 lumen ultra low mode that lasts for 53 hours. That's great for interior lighting in your tent, for reading at night, for doing tasks when there's a nice amount of moonlight out and you don't want to burn your battery out. That's great. Even if you're on a trail that's not too technical, you can easily get away with a lower light lamp and you won't have to worry about burning your battery out. The advantage of the red light is if you're into like hunting, approaching your hunting stand and whatnot, the red light is less likely to spook animals. Red light is harder to see from a distance, not just for animals, but that's also why you'll see that used in the military. And just for stealth in general, red is nice. It's also good for you even if you're not worried about stealth because it doesn't harm your own night vision as much. It's easier for your eyes to recover. But I will say that using the 3 lumen mode on this, it wasn't a shock to the eyes to the point where, you know, my night vision was really getting screwed up. It was nice for hanging in my hammock, and it got the job done. So not the end of the world. Another really nice thing that I liked was this optional diffuser that comes with it. Now, I'll admit, when this first came, I said, I never really used one of those before, didn't really think much about it, almost left it at home. Last minute before the trip, I said, you know what, I better bring that thing and test it out. And when I was night hiking in the Whites, I did about 3+ hours, a little over 3 miles of night hiking on the Wildcat Ridge Trail. It's a pretty steep and rugged, one of the tougher trails in the White Mountains, pitch black of course, and I was able to give this thing a run. I put it on full high beam. Again, like I said, it got that extra throw. A lot of times if you're on less technical trail, you're fine with just no light at all if there's enough moon, or a low light just to have some safety for your footing. But I was in the middle of nowhere by myself, did not want to risk busting my head in the middle of the night in the middle of nowhere. So I put this thing on high and said, let's see what this thing can do. Had a lot of throw to it, like I was saying earlier. I could see those white blazes out in front of me, out to like 75 yards, no problem. So the only thing is though, like most headlamps or beams, this had a very nice, narrow, focused beam. It was nice and clean and real focused and threw it really far. But I said, let me try this thing out. And when I flipped it down, I was like, wow, what have I been missing? Because once you put this down, it diffuses the light, spreads it out through the sides of the plastic, and suddenly I could not only see in front of me, it wasn't as intense, I couldn't see as far, but I could see in front of me and also my feet without actually looking down at my feet. So I kind of see the difference between the diffuser and not using the diffuser as a focused look and peripheral vision. I really like that. It really helped me out, and I was constantly switching back and forth between the two. If I wanted to find a blaze ahead of me in the distance, I flipped it open, I spotted that blaze, I flipped this back shut, and now suddenly I could see my feet and the ground directly in front of me without having to constantly look back and forth, which is just kind of unnatural. I never have done night hiking on quite as an intense trail as far as elevation and rocks and roots, and this really did save me. It's not like I would have died without it, but it probably would have taken me longer. I would have had to be more cautious. So I really like that diffuser. If you don't like it, pop it. Just pop it off. That's fine. But I don't find any harm in having it on there. It does kind of spin around. You know, if you really wanted to set it in place, I guess you could put a little dot of super glue in there. But, you know, depending on whether or not you're operating it left-handed or right-handed, you can put it on either side. If you have a hiking stick in one hand or whatever, then, you know, it seems a little like I'm nitpicking, but you can actually decide which side to have it on so you can flip it easily with that free hand. Alright, so that's the diffuser. That's pretty cool. I like it. Getting back to the red light situation, those of you who are a little creative probably already figured this out, but a very simple solution if you want to have red light, you could just color this or stain this or even put a little red tape over it, and now suddenly you can have red light mode very quickly. I'm not going to personally do that because, like I was just saying, I really liked having the ability to use my regular clear light with the diffuser, so I won't be doing that. Although I will say, Fenix, it would be super awesome if you just had a red tinted one of these included in the kit. Wow, that would be great. Now, how many people are actually interested in using red light versus the cost for the company to do that? I don't know if it'd be worth it, but me personally, I would love to see these come with a red diffuser since they don't actually have the built-in red light capability. So that's the diffuser. If you can't tell, I like it a lot. Going back to depth of throw on this, the distance that they list on here is 93 meters. I can vouch for that. I don't know if I had the opportunity in the trail conditions I was on to see that far, but I can say I was at least seeing probably 75 yards. All right, next up, let's talk real quick about adjustability for the headlamp. You see here that I am, if this is on your head, flush against your head, you can click it. It has a nice solid click to it, and you see that it goes right out in front of you. Okay, it swivels. You can have it swivel almost straight down, and it's very easy compared to some headlamps I've used where you really have to fidget or kind of wrestle with it a little bit to adjust. This is very quick and easy to adjust with one hand. On that trail that I was doing, this came into play because the elevation was constantly switching between going really steep up and really steep down. You're either looking up or looking down a lot. So when I was on steep declines, I would click this down and it would be pointing kind of straight down the trail. And then when I switched to doing inclines, I put it back up and it would show right out in front of me. Really nice and quick to switch. With some of my older headlamps, I don't know that I would have even bothered wrestling with it that much, so I probably wouldn't have bothered to adjust it. And again, less safety, more time being all careful. Probably would have slowed me down. So I really like how easily you can adjust this depending on your hiking conditions. Okay, let's make one quick note about engineering since we're looking at it. You can see that the center of gravity is built around the battery in this. So your weight is always right there. This bulb obviously doesn't weigh that much. So your main weight doesn't really ever change. So you never feel this thing coming off the front of your head too much, and if it's at extreme angles, you're less likely that it's going to adjust itself with its own weight. Compared to a cheapie like this, look at the difference there. The whole thing moves. Your center of gravity is changing, and trust me, when this is on your head, you feel like you're wearing it. Not just because it's heavier, but because it's hanging off the front of your head. So that is definitely a design point that I appreciate in this. And let's just go over some final technical specs. Intensity, for those interested, 2158 CD. Impact resistance, you can drop it from up to 1 meter and it should survive. Always nice for those accidental drops. Speaking of accidental drops involving water, it's rated IPX8, which means that it is submersible. According to this, up to 2 meters submersible. The IPX thing is just a scale of 0 through 8 of water resistance, 0 being no water resistance, 1 would be like a light rain, 6 I believe would be like if you're in heavy seas getting heavy spray and stuff, and then IPX8, which this is rated, means that you can actually fully submerge it. Now, I'm not too big on scuba diving, but and I wouldn't recommend this for that, but my point is, it is submersible, so if you accidentally ford that river, and remember this is in your pocket, not the end of the world, it should survive. That's always nice. Let's get to price. Price is a very fluid thing, so I won't get too hung up on it, but I will tell you, as of right now, there's a lot of prices out there for everything, right? But the average price for this I'm seeing, let's just say the median price is like 35 bucks. That's only about $15 more than your kind of entry-level price point of 20 bucks. Now, just to riff on price a little bit more, yeah, you could get something like this for 10 bucks, or I would say you could even get another light for probably $20, like I said. That would get the job done for a newbie, but for an extra $15, great combination of price and value. So if you're dragging somebody out there that hasn't ever been out there before, you don't know if they're going to do it again, would you tell them they absolutely have to get a $35, $40 light? Probably not, but it's still within the realm of being worth it, I'd say, even if you're unsure if you're going to continue backpacking and whatnot. Having a nice headlamp's a nice thing, and for an extra 15 bucks, you get a lot more bang for your buck. You're not going to find 97, close to 100 lumens in this quality level package out there for $35, I don't think. Price to lumen ratio, you're looking at probably one of the more high value lights available on the market right now, at least. Alright, so one final thing, let's get the battery life and burn time. Let's talk about that. Okay, when I did that night hike on this, I had used it the night before lightly at camp for some camp chores on medium, and then in my hammock on that low 3 lumen setting for just hanging out in the hammock for a little bit. So some light use the night before. Second night, around 7:30, it got dark. I busted this out. For about half an hour, I put it on medium. And then after that, I switched into high mode, the 97 lumen mode, at around 8 o'clock. Now, they say that 2 hour and 3 minute burn time, and they also say to get the best results to use that nickel metal hydride battery. However, I used a standard alkaline, and I actually went from 8 o'clock to around 10:40 according to my GPS data. So about 2 hours, about 2.5 hours, I went on high with this, including all that other lighter use before. So 2.5 hours is what I got, and at that point, I was wondering if it would do this, and I got to see it in real life. I suddenly noticed that it dropped down to the 3 lumen mode. So it won't just completely go until it conks out. It's going to save you in case you have no other batteries. You'll suddenly notice that it's running in, it's locked into that low lumen 3 lumen mode. Okay, that's good because you can't shoot yourself in the foot entirely if you find out that you have no spare battery. At least you have a little light. Now, me personally, I had a backup, so I switched. Of course, at that point, that's when I dropped the cap. I already talked about that, but yeah, the burn time for me, I was easily getting 2 hours plus out of high, including a half hour medium and maybe an hour of low. Pretty good off of a single AA. And that's about all there is to it. I think we covered the bases. We got weight, we got burn time, we got features, accessories if you want to call it that. You got my thoughts on what would be nice to change, which is really not a whole lot other than I would like to see maybe a battery cap attachment and some sort of ability to go red light. But overall, I really like this light. I will say that I'm probably retiring my other lights because this one has the features that I like. Like I said, if you're a newer backpacker, obviously I kind of tend towards the backpacking perspective. If you're a newer backpacker, I'd say not the end of the world if you get a little bit lower end model than this. There's other lights out there for maybe 15 bucks less. In fact, actually Fenix has another light for about 15 bucks less. I think it's about that price range. You're not going to get the same lumens with that Fenix or the other brands out there. That's true. But, you know, like my wife, for instance, let's talk about her. She has like a $20 headlamp. It's 50 lumen output. It's never really come to me and said, oh my God, I need a better headlamp. But she's just doing the occasional trip once a year with me. We don't night hike. If we did, I'd probably just take point and have the stronger light. So I'd say if you're dragging friends out there for the first time and they don't want to spend money, okay, great. You don't have to push them into getting this light. But I'd say if they want to spend the extra money, go for it. If not, then at least you have a nicer light that if you do get in a situation where you got a night hike, you've got the capability to take point and have a little more throw, a little more versatility for terrain with those adjustability and diffuser settings, and you're good to go. So overall, I would definitely recommend the Fenix HL21. I'm digging it. Till next time, I'm Sintax77. Have fun out there.